Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Shah Barrett.
Hello.
And Cheryl Phipps.
Here.
And we are back this week for part 2 of our amazing Skye Warren interview. Say hi, Skye.
Yay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Skye was with us last week for an amazing talk on time and time management and things like that. And this week we're going to talk a bit about mindset and Facebook ads. So should I do Skye's bio again, or can we assume that everyone... Yes, I'm having nods from Shah, who is our professional. So I'm just going to quickly do Skye's bio again, and then we'll get right into the interview. So Skye Warren is the New York Times best-selling author of Dangerous Romance, with over 1 million books sold. Her author business started as a 5-figure struggle with long hours and a constant fear she wouldn't make enough to pay the mortgage. Investing in marketing and Facebook ads is what transformed her business into a 7-figure salary working 4 hours per day. She is the organiser of the Romance Author Mastermind conference, which the Spa Girls are very excited about going to in November, is a Facebook advertising guru, and the writer of amazingly inspirational and educational newsletters for authors, which you can access by signing up for her at her website. She makes her home in Texas with her loving family, sweet dogs, and evil cat. Dun, dun, dun.
And can I just say that I would not be getting on a 13-hour flight to Houston for anybody else, Skye. And
Shah's terrified of flying, so...
are you?
Oh,
I'm white knuckling 13 hours just for you.
Not my favourite thing either.
No.
I'll give you a hug when you get to Houston.
Thank you. I'll need it. I'll be a puddle on the ground at that point, kissing the tarmac like the Pope.
All right, well, let's just jump straight into the interview then. So we talked last week about how you had to but you had 4 hours in a day and you had to pick the things that were going to be most revenue generating for you, and you learned how to do that pretty quickly, and it's been quite successful for you in terms of spending 4 hours and achieving lots using Facebook ads.
Very much, yeah.
So if we're going to talk about what were the things that blocked you before you were kind of forced to make those decisions, we're talking about your fears and things like that. Can we talk about your old fears and kind of how you were able to get over them? If that makes sense as a question.
So let's see, what was I afraid of? I definitely, I will tell you one thing right now, which is that I started writing under 2 different pen names. Mm-hmm. And one of my pen names was the one that I thought would be successful. It was a little bit more what I thought readers expected from romance. And my other pen name was what just spilled out of me. There's kind of no other way to say it. And I never thought people would want to read those books because they were very unconventional. And I only put them up partly as an experiment, which at least the experimenting part I've maintained that part to this day. Mm-hmm. But I put them up and I thought to myself, okay, I like this book. There is at least one reader out there who's probably going to like this book, and if I can reach that one reader who's looking for it, who can't find it because it doesn't exist because that's how weird it is, I was like, it's worth it. And but I'm focused on this other pen name for my career. And as it turned out, I spent a couple of years working about mostly on the pen name that only earned $5,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And I put so much into that. I put so much on social media. I put so much strategy thinking. I just tried to make it happen. Whereas my Skye Warren pen name, which ended up being my actual pen name, was I planned nothing for it. I uploaded the books on, with covers that I made. There was no website. The only reason I had a Facebook page is because someone emailed me and said, you should really have a Facebook page because I want to follow it. So it was very organic, very reader led.
Wow.
And so, it took me quite literally years to start listening to what readers were telling me. And readers were telling me, we like what you're publishing as Skye, and we don't like what you're publishing as my other pen name. And I would tell myself that they weren't saying that because of, the reviews, or, were still positive for my other pen name, but really they were telling me with sales. They were telling me by what they would pull their wallets out for. Mm-hmm. And it took me just an embarrassing long time to figure it out. That's kind of what I share with authors is listen to your readers because they're speaking to you. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we do in my Facebook ads class, but it's not specific to Facebook ads, is we look at the sell-through of each series. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, when I do this with authors, there's always surprise. So frequently, the one that they wanted to advertise was not the one that makes the most sense financially. And I think that it's because there's a lot of emotion around how we make those decisions.
Oh, that is so true. I tell you, I've got a series that I want to advertise, but it's not the series. That is so true. Oh my God. Okay.
And so we have these series that maybe we love. Sometimes it's just the most recent, so that's why. Sometimes it's a book that didn't do as well, so authors think, well, this series did great, this series didn't do as well, let's advertise this one to sort of make them even. But that's not really how it works, because readers told you that this is the one they love, and this is the one they'll sort of continue to love. And so yes, listening to readers. I also think there is an element of my passion actually being in the Skye Warren books, which is why in all the advice that I give authors, I never actually tell authors what to write, because I think that passion is so much a part of the success of the book that it cannot be directed. Instead, my focus is more on how can we sell more of the books that we already write. But for example, if you have, maybe a passion book that doesn't sell well, my story is that sometimes your passion books actually just sell well. That's actually what readers want from you when you sort of let yourself do that. But, certainly you can have a passion project that doesn't sell well, but you can still, if you're making enough, let's say through backlist, I'll give you this actual example from me, which is, at my writer's retreat, I had, I was talking about a project that I wanted to do. It's a standalone. It's not really in the genre I normally write. And one of my friends, who's an author, was like, why wouldn't you do it now? Because you can afford to take a break. You can afford to take the hit if it doesn't do what you want. And I was, and still, even now, when I talk about money mindset and these fears that block us, I needed to be told that, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And so, so yes, if you think to yourself, I want to be able to write what I want, actually doing things like marketing and like ads gives you the power to do that. Because then you can pay the bills without, and write what you want without being worried about that.
Yeah. Yep. That's a valid point. Sense. You can earn the money to do what you want rather than, yeah. So one I wanted to ask you, and maybe is you talk about the stork movie analogy, about the stork running into the glass. Could you talk through that one for us? Because I think that's a great one about you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's funny because if you've read my books, my older books, they're pretty dark. But I'm actually not someone who can watch scary movies. In fact, I almost entirely watch animated movies. And so, anyway, Storks is I think a super underrated movie, and it's really good. And so there's this one part where one of the main characters is a stork, and he can't see glass. And he, of course, because anytime you have a character that has a weakness, they have to confront it. He ends up in a glass factory. And and the human girl, she tries to give him directions, but it doesn't work out. He makes it to the end, and he says, I hit every piece of glass, some more than once. And to me, that just felt like the kind of fears and money mindset issues that we run into time and time again. And we don't know until we've hit it, until we've stopped, until we're not doing something, what it is that we're afraid of. We have to dive in every time. And so this is why when we talk about money mindset, it can feel like, oh, that's just an analytical thing. That's not actionable. That's not a thing that actually moves the needle forward. But in reality, it's holding all of us back. And I say that, even now having come this far, because we know what is possible, right? We see authors at every level who are doing better than us. And so what is the difference? And it is the money mindset issues. And so,
isn't it scary that that's what it comes down to? In my head, I'm like, the difference between me and someone doing better is just because I've got funny ideas in my head about money. Like, isn't that, I don't know, that scares me a little.
It's really wild. All of the things that we have learned and that we have to unlearn. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's personal growth, right? Like, so we have to go through these things. We have to figure out what we are telling ourselves, and not even consciously, right? Like, we're not saying can't spend money because of this, but we have to figure out what you're not. Yeah. What.
Right. That it's like that thing that you've always said. I should do that. I should do that. If you're not doing it, that's an issue. That's a money mindset issue. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of how you find them. It's just, what is that thing when someone says it to you, you're like, oh yeah, I know that would help, but, and then you just don't do it. And we all have them. I did my first self-published translation, or I had a translator do them, and I got them back. I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I got 5 books translated, and they just sat on my hard drive. There was no reason for me to do that. And it's fear, and it's money mindset issues. And I couldn't have prevented it. That's, I think, the thing about the glass analogy, is that I couldn't have foreseen it because I couldn't see it until I got there. And so this work is always ongoing. Yeah. There's always something I haven't done yet, and then when I do it, I'm going to confront like new fears. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Man, so there's not a point. There's not a point at where you're earning 7 figures and you say to yourself, "I'm here. I have no more money issues, and I'm okay." No, you're bursting all my bubbles.
But would it not be boring if that was the case? Yeah. Like, there's no. It is a work in progress. We're all works in progress. Mm.
Yeah,
it's a
right.
cool thing.
We definitely did not pick a boring career here.
No, exactly.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So you've got this equation that I have, and you said that most of the time when authors come to you and asking questions, that it boils down to, how do I sell more books, right? Is that a fair comment? So you've got this equation that says how many books you can sell equals great books and great marketing minus your fears, self-sabotage, and money issues. So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, we kind of have already, but just to break it down for people.
Right. Well, so, I have this good friend, and she, I love her book so much, so I really want to see her succeed, and also I care about her. And she had her best year ever in self-publishing last year, and it was a huge achievement. She made like 6 figures, and it was just it was great. And then at the end, she took a traditional contract, which has taken up like all of this year, and it's almost like it's like pulling back from success because it's that scary. It manifests in other ways. There are authors who will, let's say, run Facebook ads, and we've determined that it's profitable. They're running it, it's working, and then they say, I turn them off. And then, and I'll be like, well, did sales go down? Yeah, they went down. And they had to do it. They felt like it was too scary to keep running them and keep making that money. I think so much depends on how we were raised and what our parents did. So I do not come from like an entrepreneurial family. I come from you go to your job and you don't enjoy it, and then you come back home and then it's over kind of family. Yeah. So this whole idea of even enjoying my work feels sometimes like rebellious. Certainly, spending money on my business, and and learning new things as I do it, and teaching it. So I think depending on your own experience, I would actually say both of those authors have long-standing traditional publishing careers, and I think that really played into it, because there was this idea of what's normal, and this felt so abnormal that it felt like it would maybe disappear if they let it. And so, yes, I mean, self-sabotage is a real thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But by them effectively making it end by choosing the traditional route is kind of taking away the what if, it's kind of putting a line, drawing a line underneath it, isn't it? So it's kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm really over-analyzing because I'm a complete overthinker here, but it's kind of taking the control back, if you like, from the scary thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But giving away other control instead. So
but it's perceived as a safer, it's a known quantity, and I think we I don't know, maybe it's just that human instinct to go for the known rather than the unknown. Anyway.
Right. I was reading about how humans, we have developed this sort of fight or flight response to things like saber-toothed tigers, and and how the human brain doesn't necessarily actually differentiate that from the fight or flight we feel being in a social situation, standing in front of a crowd, or when we feel like we might, be too successful, make too much money, we would be seen, we would be risking failure, and so we almost react the same way on a chemical level.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Which is to keep us safe. That's to keep us safe.
Right, exactly.
So, as I'm sitting there white knuckling on my way to Houston, it's my brain trying to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
that what is it? The amygdala, isn't it, in our
Yes.
brain? It's that sort of reptilian response to saber-toothed tiger coming.
Because it's that whole thing versus your and I don't remember the proper names for the brains, but there's your primitive brain versus your thinking brain, and your primitive brain is the one that's reacting in the moment, and that's the one that grabs the big chocolate bar even though it's not good for you, and the one that does all the stuff in the moment versus the thinking brain, which is the planning brain that you've got to do stuff with over time, and what the best thing is to do with your thinking brain, but your primitive brain comes in and freaks you out, runs from the saber-toothed tiger, turns off your ads, takes the traditional deal, maybe, I don't know.
And going back to Skye's reduced hour, or defined hour working, that gets over that. So it's the same principle. I've talked about her before, Mel Robbins, with the 5-second rule. You 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's if you give your brain a chance to think through something, you inevitably won't do it. Whereas with your shortened by kind of necessity time to work, Skye, you're not even questioning should I do email or not, you're just not, so it kind of gets over that bridge into immediate action. And the same thing probably would be for Facebook ads as well. You haven't got time to overthink it, you have to do it. So in a way, we have to construct for ourselves almost that same kind of structure, if you like, to get over that reptilian brain keeping us safe.
Right, and I also think to a certain extent we develop these habits. I've been reading a lot about habits and how they form and how they keep us, going. And so I really think so much of what we do as authors on social media is habit. And even I don't advise authors to write faster. If you enjoy writing faster, that's fine. I just don't say, that you need to do that. And I don't advise authors to spend time on social media because it's designed to keep you there. It's very intelligent people with many millions, billions of dollars have designed a program to keep you there, and it works because then you stay there.
I tell you what, I go into Facebook to go to the Facebook ads platform, not planning to, and it sucks me in, and I've just checked this one little thing, and just go in this group and just quickly look, and then half an hour later I haven't even got to the ads part of the. Yeah, so they are very good at what they do.
So do you not maintain a Skye Warren social media presence at all, Skye?
So I do, and I am mostly active on two places, and I'm active in my Facebook group, and I'm active on Instagram. And I do have a little timer there for Instagram that tells me when I've been on it for 20 minutes a day, and it always goes by so much faster than I'm thinking. Oh, hit that again. Okay. But it's wild to think how much of your day can get sucked into that, scrolling and interacting, and I'm, I've only reached the point where I'm actually looking at hiring that out now. I've never had someone do my social media for me. I'm thinking of doing that now. So the plus side is that you can go a long time without having that, but I think it would be nice. And so that's kind of what I talk about too, with one of the things you have to give up. Like, so some people will say, and they're very proud of this, they'll say, every comment that gets on my Facebook page or on my profile, I reply to it. That sounds genuinely great to me. Like, literally it does. And that's one of the reasons why I've now reached a point where I'd like to hire someone to do that. But you can make 7 figures without doing that. And I couldn't make 7 figures without doing Facebook ads. So which one am I going to do first? I'm going to do my Facebook ads. And then, if I have leftover money in my marketing budget, then I can sponsor a big ad at a signing, which I was happy to do. Then I can be the gold VIP sponsor at a Polycon or Shameless. Then I can afford to hire someone, to do my social media. Those all are optional expenses that come after I have invested money into Facebook ads.
Yeah. So can we talk?
That's probably a nice segue, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, can we talk a little bit about Facebook ads? So how long did it take before you started doing well at Facebook ads when you first started them?
So let's see. My very first Facebook ad, I still remember it. I remember 2 of them, and they were a boost. And I ran them for, I think, maybe 5 days, and then I crunched the numbers to see what difference they had. And they had just the barest amount of profit. Like, I think on $50, they made $5. And on top of that, I mean. And I remember I was shocked, and I told my friend, I was like, can you believe this happened? And she had been trying to tell me about Facebook ads for a while. She was like, duh, I've been trying to tell you. So that's kind of how it always is. By the time you get into something, you're thinking, why did it take me this long? And it seems like such a small amount to get excited about, but previous to that, you would have to run an ad in a catalog or a magazine, or you'd have to put a blog sidebar ad, and you wouldn't be able to really measure results, but you would know it's probably less than what you paid. So the fact that it was over, even by a small amount, was huge to me, and I was like, this is game changing right now. And so I started running ads on, I was launching the Strip series, and that was in 2015. And immediately when I started running ads, they were profitable, but I'm talking about like 15% on top of what I was spending, which is relatively low. And the thing about a relatively low profit margin, while I would definitely still do it if it was my only option, you have to watch them more closely, right? Because if an ad does start getting shown too frequently, and frequency goes up and the ROI goes down, then it needs to be pulled and start over. So luckily, at the same time as I was doing the Strip series, I was also rebranding a series that I had gotten back from a publisher, and those ads did so much better. So that was kind of my own version of doing the calculation that we do in the class, where I look at the sell-through of each series, and that series had much stronger sell-through. And I was doing things that I had. So, okay, I was one of those authors. It's almost hard for me to think back that long. I was one of those authors who was like, I'm not going to put man chest on my cover. My books are just whatever. They're too smart for that, for lack of a better word. And that's, terrible for me to say it now because I'm so far out of that headspace, but that's where I was. And, but luckily for this rebrand, I had already gotten the publisher cover. I had even tried a really like a heroine cover on it for a while. So I was ready. I was emotionally detached enough from the series to say, let's put a really hot guy on this cover with abs, and he's got tattoos. Doesn't even matter that the hero of this book doesn't have tattoos. It's fine. Like, And so I was just ready to go there. And so I did, and they did amazing, like shocker, right? And so I, that was great to have two things. Even though I had sort of a relatively small backlist at the time, I had two different series, two different entry points that I could run ads to. And that told me a lot about series design. And I learned about sell through. And to this day, even though I can run ads more with higher ROI than I could at the beginning, I mean, I still can't get a huge return on the strip series. Why? Because of the strip series. It wasn't about the ads, it was about the books. And just the way that they're written. I was actually forcing myself to write in a series because I feel like I'm naturally a standalone writer, so that I was doing that, but I centered it around, how series are centered around like a band of brothers or like warriors or, all the heroes get together. Yeah, that works great. Instead, what I did was I centered a series around a group of female strippers, and who were like completely the opposite of like virginal heroines. And you know what? As it turns out, readers were not that jazzed. And so, I had to learn that, and I had to, I had to try it. And so this is why I still, to this day, I don't tell authors what to write, because when you have an idea, when you love a book idea, you've just got to do it. But I was able to look at the numbers and say, okay, they weren't that into that. So I can keep writing stuff like that if I want, but I know what to expect, right? And I can't be mad at the readers when they're speaking to me and, and then I'm not listening.
So two things that you talk about with Facebook ads. One is looking at the numbers and the data, which you've kind of talked to us a little bit about, but also iteration, like you take the ad and kind of slowly make those changes. Can you talk a bit about those two things, just to give our readers some idea of things they could do on their own Facebook ads?
So a lot of times when authors come to me, they have a very clear idea of what they're doing on Facebook ads wrong. So they'll say, Facebook ads aren't profitable for me, but it's only because I don't have the targeting right. And that's actually the most common one. There'll be others at times, because we kind of think that there's some big secret in there. And the reason why we think that is because Facebook gives us a lot of options when it comes to targeting. But in reality, the biggest barrier that I see to authors running profitable ads is that we make assumptions about what readers are going to like instead of asking them what they like. And by asking, I do not mean you run a poll in your Facebook group. I mean that you run 2 images in otherwise ads that are the same, with the same copy, the same target, and see which one they click on more. And that's how they're speaking to you, through that data. And so iterating would be that I would, let's say, launch a new ad set, and Facebook makes it so easy to put 6 images to start out with. So definitely I'm going to start an ad with 6 images. The ad starts running with 6 images, and pretty soon one has the highest click-through rate, and Facebook is sending all the money there. That's great, except I can do better than that. And when I say I can do better than that, I mean that I can reach a higher ROI. Whether that means the ad is not yet profitable, or even if the ad is profitable and I want to see if it can go farther. So iterating would be taking the best ad, and by best I mean the highest click-through rate, hitting the duplicate button, and then changing only the headline, or changing only the text at the top, or changing only the newsfeed description, or even the button. It's been 4 years later, and I'm sure I've tested every single piece of real estate on a Facebook ad multiple times, even down to what the page is called, what the page image is. Every single piece of real estate can impact your ad, some more than others. So at that point, I would know which ad has the best image and the best copy. And then I would start duplicating the ad set to see which target it's going to run the best at. So the thing about targets is that Facebook ads are a bidding system. So it's not about how close your books are to a certain author. It's not about whether my books are more like Colleen Hoover or more like E.L. James. Actually, both of their readers will read my books. what it's really about, which one is going to work best for me, is more dependent on how many other companies are bidding on it at a time. And by companies, I don't mean authors like us who are spending $10 a day. I mean companies like Clinique and Coach who are putting in millions of dollars a day. That's going to be the biggest factor on what our cost per click is at any given time. And the only way that we know that is to actually run them and see, okay, I'm getting 8 cents per click over here. I'm getting 11 cents per click over here. Guess where I'm going to put all my budget? On the 8 cents per click. And so that's what iterating is, 1, 2, 3, through the images, through the text, and through the targeting. But the important thing is that when you reach the end, that you understand that you can just start over. So if you aren't happy with your ROI, let's say you get to 1.5, and so you're making your money back plus 50%, that's still good. But you say, let me see if I can get to 2. So then you'd start over. You'd say, I'm going to try new images. I'm going to try new text. I'm going to try new variations of the targets. And so you actually keep going until you are happy with the ROI level that you've reached.
Yeah, that's it.
And just in very general terms, without giving away, all the secrets kind of thing, are you running ads on, would you do that same testing and iteration on full price books, or would it be like first in series, maybe at a reduced price or free?
So I am, most of all my books are wide at this point, and so the first in series free has definitely been very profitable for me. It's at this point, I've tested it, and it's more profitable than sending ads to a full price book, and then, even with the higher sell-through rate. So I just wouldn't do it the less profitable way. There are authors who do, and they are successful. So it's definitely possible. It's also different if you're in Kindle Unlimited. It's a little bit different. All of those ways can be profitable. The way that I do it is first in series free. And so most of the time, the only time that I run ads to full price books is when I have a new release.
Yep. Okay. That's interesting. Are there any other little tips or tidbits that you can give our listeners, just because we're about to wrap up, and I just want them to, is there some kind of piece of advice that you could give us that will help people kind of get into Facebook ads and kind of be successful?
So the biggest thing would be, okay, I'm going to say 2 things. I'm going to cheat and say 2 things.
That's fine.
One is look at the overall sell-through of your series. Not, if you're selling a 99-cent book, you're probably not going to make your money back on that 30-cent royalty, but that's fine. That's not the goal of having that book at 99 cents. The goal is raising the whole series. The second one is this, that you learn by doing. What happens when someone comes to you and says, I want to be a writer? And then you say, well, that's great. That's awesome. What are you working on? Oh, I'm not writing yet. I'm just thinking about it. Like, how seriously are you going to take that person? Right? Do you really think that in 6 months they're going to have a book? No, they're not going to have a book because they haven't started. So Facebook ads are the same way. I talk to a lot of authors like, oh, I'm really meaning to do that. I know I should be doing that. I'm going to do that. Definitely going to do that. But are they doing it? No, they're not doing it. And so you learn by doing. So what I recommend is 15 minutes a day. You absolutely can go into Facebook ads, duplicate an ad to try different copy, different image, or different targeting in 15 minutes. And that is really how you will learn. And what happens after 30 days, after 60 days, is that becomes a habit. And so it doesn't even feel scary. It doesn't feel like a lot of work. It's just something that you do in the same way that you used to sit down and check your email.
Yeah. That
Nice.
makes a lot of sense. Brilliant. Genius. Genius.
And it's doable. 50 minutes a day. We're not saying spend 4 hours a day on it. Start with 15 minutes a day.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And it's pretty much the same way that you treat your writing, isn't it? It's just something that you do at a certain time for a certain length of time. Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Brilliant. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us again this week for
Part two.
Part two. We've really appreciated your time, and thank you for spending it with us. I know it's valuable. I feel really conscious of the fact that your time is valuable. So where is the best place for people to find you if they want to learn more about what you do or buy your books or whatever?
Yes. So, okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here and chatting with you guys. I listened to your podcast, the 2 parts with Maria Louise on Facebook ads. I think those are great. So if you are listening to this and you haven't heard them, definitely go back and hear what she had to say about Facebook ads. And so if you do happen to like dangerous contemporary romance, you can find my books at skyewarren.com, skyewarren.com. And if you want to follow my author newsletter, you can go to skyewarren.com/authors.
Awesome. Okay.
Wonderful.
Highly recommend that. Highly recommend that.
Yeah, I devour those newsletters. So awesome. And where can we be found, Shah?
We can be found at spagirlspodcast.com, and we're on it feels slightly guilty mentioning this. We're Twitter and Facebook at Spagirls Podcast.
Yeah, we've just learned we're going to be canning all of our social media.
We take turns. So.
We take turns. There's 4 of us, so we take a week about. So but that's where we can be found. And thank you so much, Skye.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Okay, thank you all. See you.
Keep well.
Bye.
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 Bye.